What's up, guys? In today's video, I'm going to be sharing everything that I did to plan for my trip to Europe on a green passport. First, let's just take a moment of silence for everyone that owns a green passport. Thank you. You know the struggle if you have a Nigerian passport. So I don't even need to go too deep into that. However, today, on a lighter note, I'll share everything I did from applying for visas to how much it costs, to transportation, hotels, and whatnot. So this is going to be a multi-part series. So basically, I'll be releasing different parts of this every week. So don't forget to subscribe so you can get notified whenever the new video comes up. Let's get to it. So I spent 2 weeks in Europe this summer, and I started off in London, spent about a week in London, and then I went to Paris, spent maybe 4 days-ish in Paris. And then from Paris, I went to Rome, Italy, where I spent about 4 or 5 days as well. And then I kind of rounded things up in Milan, spent a weekend in Milan, and headed back to the US. So let's back off a little bit to how I started. I have always wanted to do a European trip. Like, it's been on my bucket list for the longest time. I just haven't had the chance. But I graduated. So I'm like, what better time to go to Europe than now? I don't have school on my mind, and it's just been relaxed vibes, soft girl, soft life, soft girl too. So I decided, okay, it's time to take this trip. So the first thing that I needed to do, because I have a green passport that is a Nigerian passport, I needed to get Schengen visa. So Schengen is basically a group of, I think, about 26 European countries. You can basically get a Schengen visa and be able to have access to all 26 countries within the Schengen area. So I needed to get the Schengen. So for the visa, I chose to apply through France because I spoke to one of my friends, and I chose to apply through France because that was the closest application center to me. So I was either going to apply through France or Italy, but I was just like looking up different locations for how to apply for where to apply for the visa and how to apply for the visa. And it turned out that the France embassy, or the France application center, was closer to me. The closest to me, I live in Charleston, and the closest to me is Atlanta. So yeah, I decided to look up all of the requirements, and it's pretty straightforward. They have a long list of requirements of things that you needed to have. Of course, you needed to show proof of funds, ties to the country that you live in. So basically, I gave them like my work visa details, my my residence within the US, what's keeping me in the US basically. And then I also needed to kind of show the reason why I'm going, to your itinerary, maybe hotel bookings, flight details, and so on. And they also make a travel health insurance mandatory. So I needed to get that as well. So all of that together, I started putting together all my documents, and then I went ahead and put in an application on the France embassy website. And then you needed to go submit all of the paperwork. They're very, very specific about the documents that you submit. Like, you actually need to print out the checklist and make sure that you have every single thing. One thing that happened to me, a mistake that I made while I was applying. So I was going to spend more time in Italy than France. However, apparently you have to apply through the country where you're going to be spending the most time. I didn't know that until I went to submit my application. So I put all my documents together. I went to the visa application center in Atlanta to submit my documents. On getting there, they start telling me, hey, how long are you spending in France? How long are you spending in Italy? And I'm like, yeah. I didn't know that I needed to spend more time here. I just felt I was going to enter the Schengen area through Paris, which was going to be my first stop in the area, it makes sense to apply in France, but also because their their application said that was the closest, but they didn't know that. So I was like, okay, great. So I thankfully I met people that were really nice at the application center that kind of told me, hey, just go back and rearrange your itinerary, maybe book flights that would make it seem like you're spending longer time in France. So I had to like re arrange my itinerary and basically, you know, show that I'll be staying longer in France because I couldn't go back. I had already booked an appointment. My travel dates were getting closer. I need to make sure that I get the visa. So I decided to just, you know, make those adjustments and went through France. So I applied for the UK visa. That was pretty straightforward because I had been to the UK multiple times and it was just a thing of getting all of the documentations. It was much more straightforward than the Schengen visa. I could apply right from Charleston. You just had to look for like a VFS center to submit your application and get biometrics like thumb printed, and that was basically it. So UK, pretty straightforward. I spent about $132 applying for the UK visa for a 6 month visa. So the UK visa is very expensive, honestly. Like a 2 year visa was gonna be like times four of what I paid for 6 months. So I just decided to go for a 6 month visa application. And then the Schengen one costs me about $100 total. Well, that's taking out all of the money I spent in getting all the some of the documents and transporting myself to the application center. That's a whole different cost. So that's and then let's move on to transportation. So because I really wanted the full experience, I didn't want anything to just like, you know, reduce my ability to enjoy myself because I like enjoyment. So I booked a Delta flight round trip, basically from Charleston to London, and then from Milan. I was gonna be coming back from Milan, so from Milan to back to Charleston, so a multi-city flight. And then within Europe itself, I decided to kind of do those individually. I wanted to get the experience of taking a train within Europe because transportation within Europe is very like good, so you don't necessarily have to fly everywhere like the US. You can actually take trains. Their trains are pretty good. So I wanted to like have that experience. So I booked a coach train from London to Paris, which was about $92 ish. The earlier you book that, the better. So I actually discovered that the prices got more expensive closer to when I was gonna be leaving. And then I think there was a Jubilee celebration in the UK around the time, so that also probably impacted the prices. So book ahead, make sure you're starting your planning way ahead of time so you can get the best deals. And then for my flights from the US back, I think it was a total of about 1,300 because I have good loyalty with Delta. I was able to get an upgrade when I was leaving the US to a first class, which was amazing. Like, yay, first class, let's do it. So I got upgraded, so that was really nice. So I would advise, if you can get airline loyalty, pick an airline and stick to it and use that often so you can build up points. And that's also often rewarded with like, you know, perks. And then in terms of flying from, I decided to fly from Paris to Rome because the distance was just too long. It was going to be like an 8 hour train ride and I wasn't going to like sit on a train for that long. Meanwhile, from London to Paris, it was about a 2.5 hour plane ride. So, no, sorry, train ride. So from Paris to Rome, I decided to fly, which was about a 2 hour flight as well. So I bought the ticket with Air France, and that was about $200 total, give or take. And then I also paid for a bag because I had my luggage with me that was pretty big, so I needed to check that in. I paid for check-in. And then from Rome to Milan, I took another train because that was also pretty close. I think it was about a 2 hour train ride as well. So 2.5 hours from Rome to Milan by fast speed train. So that was pretty straightforward. I think I paid about $76 ish for that leg of the journey. So that's that about transportation. And then within these places, I just basically, was winging it. I was taking Uber, I was taking trains, taking buses. When I was in the UK, I took a lot of it was a mix of Uber and train. And one thing about the UK, you didn't have to go get like the Oyster like we used to do back in the day, where you have to load it with like some money. You can use your credit card or your debit card right away, just tap it at the train station. So that was pretty straightforward for me. I didn't have to buy any Oyster card or anything, or any tickets. And then in Paris was, honestly, I'm going to do a whole new video about each of these locations, and my experience and what my thoughts are about traveling to those places. But Paris transportation system is not the greatest, honestly. I felt like um, it wasn't as straightforward. I think you needed to get tickets all the time, which is pretty archaic. I mean, we're in 2022. You guys, just let us tap our credit card, seriously. So you need to get tickets every time and put in the ticket or whatever. And sometimes I hear the schedules were not even as consistent. Like sometimes the bus may or may not come. Train can be late. I ever hear like sometimes the trains get stuck in like really long traffic, and I'm like, how does a train get stuck in traffic? Like, what's going on? But anyways, I didn't really enjoy transportation in France. I took Uber a few times, but they have Uber and Bolt in France or in Paris. So either one was a good option as well. They were just really expensive. I think these services are getting much more expensive post COVID. Um, so I didn't really calculate how much I spent total on transportation within these countries. But give or take, I would say maybe 250, 200 to $50 with a mix of boats, of Uber, Bolt, whatever, and all of those ones, and also public transportation. Um, yeah, that's transportation. Next thing, accommodation. So, with accommodation, because I have family in the UK, so, and I have friends as well. So luckily, my family was willing to host me, and then my friends too. I stayed with my friends at different points. I could have gotten an Airbnb, but I just, mostly I went to the UK mostly to see people, and hang out with friends. So which was great. It was mostly just reconnecting with my people from way back. So I stayed with different people, so I didn't really pay for accommodation. And one of my friends, the first weekend I was in London, one of my friends actually paid for my hotel in that first weekend, which is amazing. Love you, Paula. So yeah, I didn't pay for accommodation there. And then in Paris, I also had a friend that lived and worked in Paris. Um, so I didn't have to pay accommodation. I just stayed with her. So we just kind of hung out, and it was really nice just catching up and everything. But in Italy, I paid for hotels in Italy. So in Rome, I got this bed and breakfast, the family-owned bed and breakfast, which was really amazing. I found it on Expedia actually. So I paid for that, and it was about $400 for 3 nights, I think. 3 or 4 nights. I don't remember. I'm going to check and put it in the description box. So it was really affordable. That was like honestly, it had really good reviews. I didn't even mind paying extra for a nice place, but it was really nice. It was really cute. It had really good reviews as well. And I like that it was family owned, so I could kind of relate with the locals and get recommendations for food places. So that was nice. And then in Milan, Milan is a bit more pricey, so I paid about $700 for, no, about $800 for 2 nights that I stayed. To be fair, the hotel was like a four-star hotel in like the in a central location. I wanted somewhere close to the train station that was going to take me to the airport, because I was going to be leaving like within 2 days of getting there. So I decided to just pay for that. It was really nice. I really liked it. I mean, one thing that I didn't really like was the fact that they didn't have a pool, because I'm like, what kind of 4-star hotel doesn't have a pool? But they had breakfast. The food was really good. I'm going to be I'm going to be linking where I stayed down below. I didn't have any issues with it overall. And then, yeah, I think that's about it in terms of cost of transport, cost of accommodation. So in total, I probably paid like a little over $1,000 for accommodation in Europe. All right, so other expenses. I think other things that I spent money on was probably just my own extra things like shopping. Oh, of course, food. Yeah, how can I forget food? So, yeah, I honestly stopped checking how much I was spending after a while, because I was just like, you know what? I'm just gonna enjoy myself. I don't know what's coming out of my credit card. I will deal with my problems in the future. Any small money where I get like this, my enjoyment. So I wasn't really looking after a while. But if I were to guess, maybe 500. I don't know. I went to eat out at different points at different at each location. I ate out, and I was trying to also kind of experience the place. And then in Italy, I also got tours. So I paid for tours, like actual tour guides. So that was part of the expenses. I probably paid like maybe a total of $350 or 400 maybe, give or take. I'm going to put it in the description box. I'm going to look at my list and actually check how much I spent on those. So these were like day trips. I went on day trips to Amalfi Coast and Positano, food tours, just I was supposed to go to Lake Como as well on a boat ride. I paid for that already. I wasn't able to make it though, but I paid for that. So I wanted that, full tourist experience in Italy, which is why I decided to pay for these things. And then in terms of shopping, I'm not even going to tell you guys how much I spent on shopping. That's what took most of my money. I did spend a lot on shopping. I wasn't on it. I honestly wasn't calculating it. But yeah, that's up to you how much you want to dedicate to shopping, because you would see a lot of things to shop. Like I went to shopping malls a lot in Paris and Italy. They have a lot of places to shop, especially luxury items. Oh my goodness, they are way cheaper than in the US. So if you're into that, definitely I would recommend Paris and Milan for different design, depending on what designer brands you're trying to get. They have different discounts. So the ones that are typically from France are cheaper, like designers that are from France, originally from France, and the designers that are originally from Italy would also obviously be cheaper in Italy. So just kind of look up where those designers are originated from, so you can get those discounts. So yeah, that's my planning experience for my Europe trip for 2 weeks in Europe, how much I spent. I'm going to put more details in the description box, and I'm going to be sharing more about my individual experience, like within each of these locations, and also like some of the vlogs that I had there. So subscribe and hit the like button, please, so I can grow. And if you have any specific questions, you can reach out to me. And if you're planning a trip to Europe, you're gonna love it. You're absolutely gonna love it. I'm glad I went. It was very eye-opening. I got a good experience of traveling to see people and also solo being by myself, which was a pretty good mix. It was liberating. It was relaxing. I slept a lot. I didn't put in too many activities into my trip, just because I also wanted to relax. So I would sleeping in the mornings before I started my activities for the day, and also would have pretty good night rest. So that's it. All right, bye guys.